welcome to our Morning Throners podcast.
I'm Nelson.
I'm Jeff.
And I'm Kyle.
And we're the fucking Morning Throners. And welcome back to another episode of your favorite Song of Ice and Fire podcast. We are your Morning Throners coming at you hot with Jamie 5. Gentlemen, how are we doing?
Pretty good. What do we think of the
This
chapter,
was a good
Kyle?
one, I thought, right? Yeah, I'm going to answer that before you even ask me.
Damn,
I knew it was coming. I finally learned. It only took 190 episodes.
We just go right into Kyle's opinion now. 104 episodes
Well,
in.
Jeff always asks us how we're doing. I know no one cares how we're doing, so I try and transition off how we're doing onto what we think about the chapter.
They might care a little bit.
Maybe a little bit.
Anyway, I thought it was a pretty good one. I think it'll be better when I get some kind of explanation, right? But this is like the first we heard of some of the backstory.
Oh yeah,
like of
for sure.
direct history, right? Like, so we've been getting kind of this like other stuff, like, oh, here's these minor battles and whatnot. But this is like, I don't know. This feels like the stuff that led right into the first book. Is we're finally getting some info.
So what you're alluding to is Jamie basically gives like his backstory of the rebellion, pretty much the entire rebellion. And Jamie's like the inside man, right? Because he's right next to the king for all of this, so he's kind of at the center of everything. So he kind of lays down.
It's weird too. I'm sorry to cut you off, but like, because Lannisters lie. I mean, even Bolton says it at some point, right?
Yeah.
Like, so like it's right there in the chapter, but he seems to be telling the truth, or at least his truth.
Yeah, I would agree with that. His truth, at least, what he was thinking.
Yeah, so
honest POV.
And like that's how he remembers it. So maybe that's not what happened, but that's definitely what he remembers happening. Like he seems like he's like, why am I doing this? Why am I telling this person that I fucking hate the truth? Like it's not like he's scheming mentally the whole time.
Exactly.
Two-faced or
So I guess we haven't given the synopsis. We've been kind of talking around it. This is the scene, the Jamie and Brienne bath scene, and then basically Jamie, Brienne, and Roose have dinner later on and talk about kind of what's going on with them. I don't remember.
Is there a show scene of them at dinner?
I'm not sure.
I'm sure there is.
Oh, yeah, you know what? I think there is, because it just like shows him being clumsy with his stump. But I will say that the bath scene is definitely like one of the most like, it's a famous scene. Like the Jamie and Brienne bath scene.
You just like seeing Jamie naked.
I don't know. I think you can like, that's a scene that if you go up to anybody and be like, hey, do you remember the Jamie Brienne bath scene? They'll all be like, yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah, no, it's a big scene. I think it
because it makes you turn around on Jamie.
You get a different side of Jamie. Yeah, you just get a different side of him. Like,
yeah.
All right, let's get into it. So he comes down. He's being brought down by some cats, and Brienne has been in this bathtub. So this is like just a big bathhouse. It kind of reminds me of. You guys ever seen the movie Wanted?
Yeah, but
it's like Angelina Jolie and Morgan Freeman, and they're like curving bullets and shit. And if they ever get shot, they go into this bath, and there's just like baths lined up. And
I actually don't remember the bath part.
It's like a healing bath.
Okay, I don't remember that.
You guys don't remember it?
I don't remember the bath parts. I mean, I remember.
I'll
it's been a while since I've seen that
It's just like lined up of like it looks like a wax bath. I don't know.
I take it almost more like a sauna. Like I feel like you see like
or
sumo
kind
wrestlers
in
like a big sauna where it's like a bunch of guys in these like big pools, like big guys. That's kind of what I see it.
Yeah, I'll send you a picture of the Wanted, or like a little clip of the Wanted bath, and it's just like lined up. But yeah, so they're big bathtubs, kind of like a jacuzzi center.
Yeah, like hot. I think they're like hot tub size. They're basically a bunch of hot tubs that you can bathe in.
6 to 7 people, it said, right? At some point,
it's like hot tubs you can bathe in that are like meant to bathe in, I guess.
And Brienne's
she's in one. Yep, exactly.
And she's a little shy. She's being the shy maid.
Yep. She doesn't have big boobies, Jamie notes. She says that her boobies would look more natural on a 10-year-old boy than they would on her muscular chest. So,
I mean, she's probably also just like yoked too.
Exactly. That's part of it. Like I've seen like I feel like Olympian. I guess it depends on the sport, but like some chicks are just like absolutely ripped,
like bodybuilder.
Could those
physique,
chicks,
I think, is.
Could those chicks, like, if they had big boobs, would they be able to be as good at those sports? Or is it just like if you work out your pecs, it's impossible to get big boobs if you're a girl? I don't know.
I'm not going to pretend to have any knowledge of this, and I feel like pretending to have knowledge of this is a bad road to go down.
I know you can get breast reductions, but I'm thinking like, if you're just like a large-breasted girl, are you just like, fuck, I can't be a pole vaulter? Like, is that like just
it's kind of like the same as.
That's not true.
I mean, it could be because maybe it's like I'm not a tall dude, so I'm not gonna play basketball.
I'm sure at the like high school level, it probably doesn't matter that much, but like affecting like if you wanted to be the best in the world or something.
No, so you have a decent pair on you. Does it ever affect you?
I mean, I'm not a pole vaulter. I wanted the pole vault, but I was too tall. I was too fat
to be fair though, he's got the height, right? Like that's like number one of pro athletes is like they're all over 6 foot, pretty much. They're all massive.
I mean, yeah, you don't know how many times somebody told me, "Oh, if I was your height, and I'd be in the NFL." Yeah, okay, sure you would. Yeah,
yeah.
You might. Be
I understand that it's not a given.
And then you see Nelson running around like Gumby at 6'7".
What a waste.
All right, so Jamie needs to get bathed because he's going to eat dinner with Bolton. He's all messed up from the fight with Brienne, but they've leached his eye, but he's still got some bruises and whatnot.
Yep.
Nelson, how many days has this been?
It should have. I'm guessing based on what I read, it should have only been like a day or two, right? Because it sounds like he's still in pretty bad shape.
Yeah.
The timeline I've been following says 2 weeks.
2 weeks?
Well, that's a long ass time to not be having dinner with each other.
That seems like a little bit too long. I mean, at one point they do ask like, what has he been eating? What has Jamie been eating? And they say like, oh, we've been feeding him like pretty much porridge, but he hasn't been eating that much of it anyway.
Like, why would they give him like a little bit of ham or something?
Exactly, give him something better.
Especially if he's like fever and his shit's dying, like his arm is festering.
The timeline that I'm going off of isn't 100% accurate, which is why I kind of stopped using it for a while there, and I just didn't go back and actually read all the chapters to figure it out.
Timeline. Let's say 2 days.
So I'm saying less than a week, maybe not 2 days. Yeah, I mean 2 days to a week is what I would say.
And his arm is festering because he wouldn't let them take more of it, right? Like,
I'm sure that's not. Yeah, I mean they wanted.
That was part of. No, I'm just. It's been a little while.
Yeah, Qyburn
since
wanted
our last Jamie read.
I mean, he was arguing to take the whole thing, then at the elbow, and Jamie's like, "No, you'll take just as little as you have to."
Okay.
I took it was just festering because, like, again, it was just like still.
I mean, it was gonna anyway, but I feel like if he would have taken more off, it would have been in better shape.
Yeah,
cleaner.
All right. So Jamie hops in the pool. Brienne's like, "What are you doing? This is my pool. Pick your own pool."
Yeah, get in another one. There are plenty of tubs here.
And Jamie, a lot of it's Jamie like still kind of sarcastically messing with Brienne, but he does open up a little bit. But it starts with him being like, "All right, like if I faint in here, don't let me die. No Lannisters died in their bathwater. I don't want to be the first."
And he's like he's soaking in good, but he has to keep his stump above. It's like when you have a cast on, you gotta like put it in a bag when you get in the shower. You know what I mean?
Yeah, hang it over the side of the tub.
Can't get it wet.
Yeah.
So how do we start this conversation, Nels? What's the big part? So I don't have my notes tonight. I was rushing from work, so I don't want to skip over anything big.
Well, she's like, "Why would you care if I die?" And she's like, he's mocking her. He's like, "Well, you swore a vow, right? Like you take vows so sacred."
Yeah, you have
right.
To
kind of get on that point. Like you hate me because I'm the Kingslayer, right? I think where eventually that's where this leads to.
It's an ongoing theme between these two. Is like.
She was like, "Why would anyone ever trust you, Kingslayer?" Right?
Yeah, it's definitely trust is what's the friendship and the relationship and trust building is kind of the whole of this.
Well, the other thing too is like there's a lot of reasons, maybe not a lot, but there's more reasons we have as readers to dislike Jamie. We know he pushed Bran out a window. Most characters just distrust Jamie.
Well, she knows now too.
Does he say that? That's what I was wondering.
Yeah, he does mention it here in the chapter. Yeah,
but. Most people just hate him for the Kingslaying thing, which again I think like by the end of this conversation with Brienne, he maybe doesn't not like explains explains it away, but it's like, oh, if she puts herself in his shoes, what's she gonna do there? You know what I mean?
It's also kind of weird. I mean, I guess it just looks bad on his character. But everybody loved King Robert, right? That was talked about 2 chapters ago or last chapter with Stannis, and like, all right, like he killed the person no one probably liked, or at least. Like was kind of scared of
exactly,
and you got people that like you actually like as king.
Exactly,
maybe you should not. But I guess like that's like in a.
I mean, it's
like an accountant doing like tax evasion. Like, all right, well, you're probably not the best.
Well, it's all history is written by the victors, that's right? True. Like, so Robert is like the hero and the savior of the realm and all that, and because that's what happened. Right?
And I think it's in this chapter too. Again, I'm getting some of them confused because I'm a chapter ahead in the notes, but like I think Jamie says like Robert, like when he accepted me back, he would basically just like, don't make a habit out of it. Like slap on the next one. Don't make a habit out of it, and then you're good to go. You're still in the Kingsguard type deal.
Yeah.
And last chapter, the Davos one, Stannis was even saying like Robert fucked up. He should have sent Jamie to the wall, like Ned said, but Jon Arryn kept him around. He should have killed Varys, killed small council,
cleaned house,
yeah, exactly,
and started over.
So it's funny that like. Stannis is like, that's what I would have done here. And like you guys said, Robert's good at making friends. And it's kind of what he did to Jamie. He's like, you can hang around. So he did all of them. Barristan hung around. Varys hung around. They all hung around.
Yeah. So Jamie starts off messing with him, like kind of showing like, oh, you're supposed to protect me. Don't you remember your oath? And like, here's my stump. Like, you screwed me.
Yeah, she's like back to him, probably trying to just like conceal herself because she's naked in this bathtub. And he's like, oh, what? You can't look at my stump? He's like, you should be happy. This is the hand that I killed the king with, the hand that I flung the Stark Boy from the tower, the hand I slid between my sister's thighs. So
he's just admitting to everything.
Admitted to everything, yeah.
But I think this is funny. And I'm sure I brought this up in a recent spoilers section, but he had recently, I think in the last Jaime chapter, he said like, I lost my everything I was. This was my hand. It was my fighting hand. Everything that was good about me, like the only good thing about me, my skill in arms, is gone now. Now I'm as useless as a girl. But here on the other side, it's like all the bad stuff he did too was caused by this hand. So it's like it's kind of like he's lost both sides of him. He's lost all the good stuff he's ever done, but he's also lost all the bad stuff he's ever done. So I knew this quote or something. I didn't know this exact quote, but I knew he was basically he basically listed off a bunch of good stuff he had done with his hand before, and I knew there was like a counter quote coming. So I just wanted to throw back to that real quick.
That's a cool catch there, Nelson.
But he thrusts his stump at her, and he's like, no wonder Renly died. With you guarding him. So yeah, he's still taking
good
jabs.
Fucking job. Yeah, look at me. Look where you got me.
Yep.
Great protector you are.
Yeah.
A little biology happening in Jaime though. He hasn't seen seen a girl in a while.
Because that offends her, and she stands up, and he gets a little peek between her legs.
Yeah, she's going full 70s.
And it's weird again. Like it's like he's like, oh man, it's been too long since I've seen my sister. He doesn't say that. He says since I've seen Cersei, but he's thinking like, oh, I'm too aroused here. I haven't seen my sister.
So he actually looks away. He's the shy maid.
I'm just saying, like, come on, Jamie. You need to find yourself a girl, mate.
He loves his sister. He loves his sister.
Yeah, but you shouldn't love your sister and like, oh, I got a boner. It's been too long since I've seen my sister.
They got a bunch of kids, dude.
We're there now.
Like, the ship has sailed. Like, I don't know what you're trying to stop.
He's all in. It's too late. So he's like, all right, like, I don't want to fight you anymore. Like, let's make a truce. And this is where like truce is built on trust. And
he does say, "Forgive me, wench." Right?
He's like, you guarded me.
He says, yeah, he said you did a good job of guarding me. But then, like later on, he gets mad that she calls him Kingslayer.
Yeah,
which is kind of like he's still a dick. I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Well, she's about to.
Because
would you have me trust? And then he's like, the Kingslayer, yes. Like he cuts her off,
and then he goes on the story
like about
monologue. Here's why I'm the Kingslayer.
His
Here,
monologue,
have it. Yeah, it's kind of like how I see that because it leads into that, right?
So true, but later on, no, there's a point later on when he gets mad. He's like, my name is Jamie or something like that. You'll see.
Oh, he thinks it. Doesn't he think it?
Well, it's right before she faints. She calls for help, and she says the Kingslayer, and he's like,
exactly.
He's like, damn, like
that's not my name. I just told you the story. Come on.
No, or should we just summarize his monologue? It's a long ass monologue.
Let's see. I do have a lot of quotes. I guess I had the plan to do it in sections.
All right, well, let's go to the first one.
I don't know if we're quite there yet. So
he pretty much says
up,
like, yeah, I am.
We're past that.
She's
part.
out of the. Yeah, I know, but just sit in the scene. She's actually out of the tub now, I guess, in a towel. Right, he's still in the tub, and then this is where he's about to give his thing. He's mentioned the thing about Robert, basically saying you can hang around. And Brienne says, "Well, Robert, everything Robert did was for love." Like basically saying Robert, because he's saying Robert's the one that tore the realm apart. Like he started the rebellion, right? Like that's he's the one everyone should be pissed at. And she's
Jamie
like,
called bullshit on it too.
It was for love. And Jamie says Robert did all he did for pride, a cunt and a pretty face. He made a fist, or would have if he'd had a hand. Pain lanced up his arm, cool as laughter. I thought that was a cool line too. Like,
did he make a phantom fist? Like,
he flexed his.
He probably exactly. Yeah, he probably flexed all the muscles to make a fist,
and
it fucked everything up.
Oh man, it's so weird.
Can't feel good. Yeah, so he goes into. Well, she's like, he rode to save the realm, and he's like, to save the realm, and I think Jamie's like, oh, he saved the realm, like I saved this shit, basically.
Well, what he jumps to is my brother lit the Blackwater.
Tyrion saved the realm.
Yeah. More recently, Tyrion saved the realm. Yeah,
I think that was more to show like the.
It's a weird connection to me. I don't know how that jumped. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, oh, did you know wildfire could even burn on top of water? Like, let me tell you another story about wildfire.
I get that. I don't get how he gets from talk about Robert in the rebellion to Tyrion. I get how he gets from Tyrion to the rest of the wildfire talk. I don't get the. I don't think it matters much.
I think it just shows the power of wildfire because he goes right in. Aerys would have bathed in it if he dared, and it just talks about how.
Gotcha.
Aerys then started setting up all these caches.
Exactly. So I got mad at Jeff because Jeff actually mentioned a little bit of this in passing. I don't think you caught on to it, Kyle. You can tell us now.
No,
Probably not.
No, I didn't.
I don't remember now it ever happening.
It's just a lie. It's a lie.
It's not a lie. We had like 10 minutes discussion in the spoiler section about me. It's the last Jamie podcast. I know it is. We yelled about it each other in the spoiler section for like 10 minutes. We did.
What did he say?
Jamie thought about, they had heard that Tyrion lit the black water afire. I think when they first get to Harrenhal, they hear that. And Jamie thinks something like, oh, I had a dream like this one time before. And Jeff said, oh, it's because of the caches all over King's Landing. And then we moved on quick. So it was. I didn't say. I'm sure that wasn't word for word, but it was along those
Objection. Hearsay.
I didn't get it. It's good.
All right. So that's where we go into. He loved wildfire, would have bathed in it, and he says he didn't think he was going to die. I don't know if that's right here. It might not. That's not right here. I guess he says it.
No, he just felt lightheaded.
Yeah, he starts feeling lightheaded, and he basically goes into the water up to his chin, and then he starts talking.
Soiled my white cloak. I wore my gold armor that day, but
gold armor.
Her voice sounded far off, faint. He floated in heat, in memory.
After dancing griffins lost the Battle of the Bells, Ares exiled him.
Why am I telling this absurd, ugly child?
He had finally realized that Robert was no more outlaw lord to be crushed at whim, but the greatest threat House Targaryen had faced since Daemon Blackfyre. The king reminded Lewin Martell gracelessly that he held Elia, and sent him to take command of the 10,000 Dornishmen coming up the King's Road. John Darry and Barristan Selmy rode to Stony Sept to rally what they could of Griffin's men, and Prince Rhaegar returned from the south and persuaded his father to swallow his pride and summon my father. But no raven returned from Castle Rock, and that made the king even more afraid. He saw traitors everywhere, and Varys was always there to point out any he might have missed. So his grace commanded his alchemists to place caches of wildfire all over King's Landing, beneath Baelor's Sept, in the hovels of Fleabond, under stables and storehouses, at all 7 gates, even in the cellars of the Red Keep itself. Everything was done in the utmost secrecy by a handful of master pyromancers. They did not even trust their own acolytes to help. The Queen's eyes had been closed for years, and Rhaegar was busy marshalling an army, but Aerys' new mace and dagger hand was not utterly stupid, and with Rosart, Bellis, and Garrigus coming and going night and day, he became suspicious. Chelstead, that was his name, Lord Chelstead.
It had come back to him suddenly with the telling.
I thought the man craven, but the day he confronted Aerys, he found some courage somewhere. He did all he could to dissuade him. He reasoned, he jested, he threatened, and finally he begged. When that failed, he took off his chain of office and flung it down on the floor. Aerys burnt him alive for that, and hung his chain about the neck of Rosart, his favorite pyromancer, the man who had cooked Lord Rickard Stark in his own armor. And all the time I stood by the foot of the Iron Throne in my white plate, still as a corpse, guarding my liege and all his sweet secrets.
All right, let's pause there. So, Kyle, any thoughts?
So Chelstead was the hand?
Chelstead was the hand.
Okay, yeah. I'm just trying to make sure that I'm understanding a lot of this.
Yeah, so I'm going to go back and just kind of like recap what he says, because again, he uses some nicknames here. After Dancing Griffins lost the Battle of the Bells. So
yeah, what's Dancing Griffins?
So he was Lord Connington, who was the hand.
Okay.
So he was the hand. After he lost the Battle of the Bells, Aerys exiled him. We heard about this recently when Arya was at Stony Sept, because that's where the Battle of the Bells happened. Yeah, that was where
Robert came out. He was hurt, but he came out and fucked everybody up.
Yeah, because then what he goes on to say is that after that happened, the king sent John Darry and Barristan Selmy, who were both members of the Kingsguard, to Stony Sept to basically try and, hey, the hand was here with a bunch of our men. They lost the battle, but you got the hands. Fuck him. He's gone. Exiled. He lost the battle. I hate him now. Get him out of here. But you two go get anybody he left behind, basically, is what's up with that.
Yeah, gather the men. Yep.
Lewin Martell, the reason that's mentioned is because he's another Kingsguard. So he sent Lewin Martell. He's like, hey, some Dornishmen are coming up. They're supposed to be joining our side. You go make sure they're joining our side and remind them that we have one of the Martell daughters here, Elia Martell, who's the one who had the children who the mountain came in and not great things happened to him, right? So basically, the point of that, he's saying, like, he sent away all the Kingsguard. I was like the only Kingsguard left in the city at the time, right? It's kind of the point of mentioning all that. And then, they're trying to get word from Castle Rock. No word. Radio silence from Tywin. That's not good.
Which we learn later is like he's just waiting to pick a winning side.
Yep, right? Exactly. And then we get the new hand, because the last hand was exiled. This new guy, Mason Dagger, which is his sigil, who then is Lord Chelstead.
Okay.
He basically finds out that Aerys is planting wildfire all over the city and is like, no, we're not doing this. I quit, kind of like Ned was when Robert was trying to kill Daenerys. Right? He's like, hey, I don't like that she's pregnant. We're going to kill her. Ned's like, I won't sit by and watch this happen. So he quits. Except when Shelstead does it, he gets burned for it. Right. So, and Jaime's basically like, this is the situation I was in. I was the only Kingsguard around. The king's going crazy, literally planting wildfire all over, and he killed the hand who spoke against him.
So in Jeff's defense last week, I thought the caches all around the town that he was talking about, if I thought of anything, was I did know they were finding them. Remember, like Tyrion when he was gathering, when he was gathering wildfire, they were looking for stores of it. So I didn't know it was stored around to like as a suicide pill. Exactly, like this is, like the. Well, fuck it. If I'm going, everybody's going, kind of thing.
But you knew there were some hidden caches somewhere.
Yeah, so I guess that's why it didn't jar me so much. So it was a safe spoiler.
Yeah, I agree.
But that's I mean, I was kind of also trying to sum this up. That was the other part of this.
So it doesn't really matter. It was a fake news.
All right, Jeff, do you have anything else to? He also in there mentions that the Queen's eyes had been closed for years. Which is kind of like a passing thing, but just makes me seem like she wasn't stopping the wildfire plot either. So I think,
I
thought it meant she was dead.
No, because he eventually says that he sends her away to Dragonstone, right? Remember, because she's pregnant with Daenerys right now. He sends her and Viserys away. We'll get there in the quote, so we'll just keep reading it.
But Elia is Rhaegar.
He's talking about the Queen. So he says the Queen's eyes have been closed.
Elia is Rhaegar's
She's like
wife.
the princess,
right? Okay.
And that's the Dornish woman who is basically we're saying, hey, we have her. So, yep. All right, Jeff, you want to keep going?
My sworn brothers were all away, you see, but Aerys liked to keep me close. I was my father's son, so he did not trust me. He wanted me where Varys could watch me, day and night. So I heard it all.
He remembered how Rossert's eyes would shine when he unrolled his maps to show where the substance must be placed. Gargus and Bellis were the same.
Rhaegar met Robert on the Trident, and you know what happened there. When the word reached court, Aerys packed the queen off to Dragonstone with Prince Viserys. Princess Elia would have gone as well, but he forbade it. Somehow he had gotten in his head that Prince Lewin must have betrayed Rhaegar on the Trident, but he thought he could keep Dorne loyal so long as he kept Elia and Aegon by his side. The traitors want my city, I heard him tell Rosart, but I'll give them naught but ashes. Let Robert be king over charred bones and cooked meat. The Targaryens never bury their dead, they burn them. Aerys meant to have the greatest funeral pyre of them all. Though, if truth be told, I do not believe he truly expected to die. Like Aerion Brightfire before him, Aerys thought the fire would transform him, and he would rise again, reborn as a dragon, and turn all his enemies to ash.
These dudes are nuts.
Yeah, the Targaryens, yeah. Which, again, I think we mentioned this last time. Stannis was saying, Melisandre's like, we're going to wake stone dragons. That's our deal. And Stannis is like, no, stop that. We're not trying to do that. It's never been any good.
Everybody that said that, they end up dead. But let me also say that, like, I guess my problem is I'm saying this from a world where obviously nobody's going to turn into a dragon, but like this one, there's like some weird magic shit happening. So maybe this could actually happen, and maybe these guys aren't so crazy.
You just got to try it. Yeah. So this is something I was talking to Jeff about in the spoiler section, and he didn't react like I thought. And then I was thinking about it too, and I don't know if it's a super spoiler. I don't think it's a spoiler at all. I'm going to mention it to you now. Melisandre said that her prophecy was she's going to wake dragons from stone.
Yeah.
And then something about king's blood is related to that.
Yeah.
And I basically said to Jeff, like, well, we have dragons. Like, didn't they come from, like, eggs that were described as stone in this, like, burning of Khal Drogo? Jeff was arguing that Khal isn't the same as a king. It's more like warlord. I think we might have even heard somewhere that Khal is just the Dothraki word for king. So I'm wondering, basically, I'm claiming, like, or proposing, like, could Dany have already fulfilled this prophecy? Maybe, I don't know. Maybe not. But, like, I think it's one of those things where prophecy is parallel for sure, really vague, and you could fit it in. Like, if nothing, maybe we don't get any dragons waking from stone in the rest of the books, right? And then you could just always say, oh, well, Dany fulfilled it. But maybe you do get it, and you're like, oh, Dany wasn't actually it. You know what I mean? It can go either way.
Melisandre's kind of felt like it was like more of a volcano needs to be activated to me.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you were saying, for sure. And we like that idea.
So again, I mean, I guess that's kind of where I'm at.
Prophecy could go multiple ways.
Yeah. I mean, I see what you're saying with the Dany thing, and that's a cool parallel and stuff. But to me, it's more the, like I said,
it's also a thing where we've been
feels
waiting
like it's supposed to be a volcano, and this volcano is going to rain fire on these ice people, right?
Well, also people like me have been waiting 12 years for Dance of Dragons, so we're making any connection that's possible at this point.
Okay, gotcha.
So
true.
We don't need to linger on them too long, but yeah.
Anyway, all right. So Aerys going to burn it all.
All right, Jeff, keep going.
Ned Stark was racing south with Robert's van. but my father's forces reached the city first. Pycelle convinced the king that his warden of the west had come to defend him, so he opened the gates. The one time he should have heeded Varys, and he ignored him. My father had held back from the war, brooding on all the wrongs Aerys had done him, and determined that House Lannister should be on the winning side. The trident decided him. It fell to me to hold the Red Keep, but I knew we were lost. I sent to Aerys asking his leave to make terms. My man came back with a royal command. Bring me your father's head, if you are no traitor. Aerys would have no yielding. Lord Rossart was with him, my messenger said. I knew what that meant. When I came on Rossart, he was dressed as a common man-at-arms, hurrying to a postern gate. I slew him first. Then I slew Aerys, before he could find someone else to carry his message to the pyromancers. Days later I hunted down the others and slew them as well. Bellis offered me gold, and Garrigus wept for mercy. Well, a sword's more merciful than fire, but I don't think Garrigus much appreciated the kindness I showed him.
Question. Didn't we kind of see that before? Like I feel like somebody talked about like the common man got killed or something like that. And like we didn't, like there was somebody else dead with Aerys, I guess is what I'm trying to say. The and we didn't know who it was. Yeah. And
he like walked over the body or something. He had mentioned, I think, that there was another
I think
body
Jaime
there.
had once in the past thought like, oh, no one ever remembers Rossart. Like I killed them both, but no one ever talks about him.
Okay.
Who was technically the hand at the time, but he was just like kind of a pyromancer elevated, so no one really, he wasn't like a high lord, so no one really cared.
Screw that
okay,
guy.
yeah, I just was like this. I feel like I'm filling in blanks here as while I was reading this, and I was like, but I don't remember from where.
Exactly, I think that's the point. I think you're probably filling in a lot more blanks than most people because we kind of the way we've been going through it. Yeah, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah,
Jeff, you want to keep going?
The water had grown cool. When Jaime opened his eyes, he found himself staring at the stump of his sword hand, the hand that made me Kingslayer. The goat had robbed him of his glory and his shame, both at once. Leaving what? Who am I now? The wench looked ridiculous, clutching her towel to her meager teats with her thick white legs sticking out beneath.
Has my tale turned you speechless? Come, curse me, or kiss me, or call me a liar. Something.
If this is true, how is it no one knows?
The knights of the King's Guard are sworn to keep the king's secrets. Would you have me break my oath?
Jaime laughed.
Do you think the noble lord of Winterfell wanted to hear my feeble explanations? Such an honorable man. He only had to look at me to judge me guilty.
Jaime lurched to his feet, the water running cold down his chest.
By what right does the wolf judge the lion? By what right?
A violent shiver took him, and he smashed his stump against the rim of the tub as he tried to climb out. Pain shuddered through him, and suddenly the bathhouse was spinning. Brienne caught him before he could fall. Her arm was all goose flesh, clammy and chilled, but she was strong, and gentler than he would have thought. Gentler than Cersei, he thought, as she helped him from the tub, his legs wobbly as a limpcock.
Guards!
He heard the wench shout.
The Kingslayer!
Jaime, he thought. My name is Jaime.
Yep.
So that's the part I was talking about. Where he's like,
exactly. I think it's like a poetic thing, like, hey, I'm the Kingslayer. Like I just gave you the story, like I said earlier, of like why it was justified. And again, he never,
old habits.
Yeah, that was supposed to change your mind about me. Is pretty much what he was saying.
And he never puts the question to her, but I like think that would be really interesting if he's like, what would you have done? Like, would you have just let Aerys?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you just heard that,
burn the city down.
Jaime had sent a messenger to Tywin, basically saying like, hey, dude, we got to give up. It's time. And Tywin, he sends a message back that says, nope, go kill your dad. And the guy who gives you the letter is also like, oh yeah, the guy who wants to burn everything, he's with the king right now. Jaime shows up. The orders have just been given. If you're Brienne in that situation, what do you do? Do you go kill your dad? Do you just let the city burn? Like, no, you kill the fucking king. Or you tie him down or something, right? Like, maybe you don't have to kill him, but...
Wow. Maybe that's why there's democracy nowadays.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, Nelson. I don't know the right answer, right? Like, trolley problem.
Yeah, well, I mean,
really
not really.
And
it's not really. Just kill the right answer is kill the crazy king and fuck your oath. That's the right
trolley
answer.
Problem.
I mean,
I don't know what that means either.
The trolley problem is there's a trolley coming. You have the ability to move the switch. It's aiming at one. It's aiming at what? 10 people. And on one track is 10 people, and on the other track is one person. It's gonna kill 10. You can make it kill less, but you have to take action. Like, is it worth intervening?
Is the one person, maybe the one person cures cancer, and you save more in the long run.
Yeah, that's a common argument of the trolley problem.
But also the thing is, like, if you just don't intervene, like if you intervene, then you basically killed that guy. If you don't intervene, those 10, you had nothing to do with the death of those 10 people. Kind of is how other people is how you see it, right? It is kind of his charm.
So really, that's this situation, man. Like, that's all I'm saying. He's
Why
just kind of
10
fucked.
people
like,
standing on the track is my question.
They're tied to the track. They're gonna die. That's it.
Who tied them? There's a whole nother
Just the
issue.
worst person to hypothetical.
I'm just kidding. I'm just being an asshole. All right, let's move on.
So yeah, I mean, I think this is we don't have to linger on it. We read the entire thing, but like, yeah, this is one of the just one of the most memorable, I think, just character defining conversations you have.
He still sucks.
You even said it last time, like you were kind of starting to come over on Jamie. I think
I know.
this kind
That's
of
why.
Again, there's a lot of bad stuff.
I tried to say something earlier about it, like why he was still kind of a piece of shit. I forget what I was talking about now, but I was trying to throw some of that in here. Like, he still sucks, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, he just like calmly admitted to pushing Bran out.
Yeah.
Like it was not a big
exactly.
deal.
There's other stuff he's done that this does not absolve him for, but this seems to like absolve him if you put yourself in his shoes from the big thing. Like he's named after
from the thing that's changed his character. Like in the whole, he was like probably the same as Loras Tyrell, like the great young prince or the great young
not
knight,
even that.
and
Like we talked about this before. Like your reputation is everything. Ned could meet somebody for the first time, and no matter what he said, they would take his word for it because they know Ned doesn't lie.
Yeah,
Jamie would say anything, and they're going to assume he's lying just because he's known for being an oathbreaker.
He's the king,
right? And it's like, why do I have that reputation? It's built all basically bullshit.
Yeah, and if he had Twitter back in the day, he probably could have tweeted out his side of the story.
There you go. X'd out.
All right.
Now
so he like passes
stupid.
out. Qyburn comes down, cleans. It's like, oh, he's messed up. What has he been eating? Basically nothing. We talked about that. They're like, all right, clean him up. Come on, we got to get him ready for Bolton. And Brienne volunteers to scrub him down.
They're both naked. She's also like this weird thing where she's like holding him naked. Like they have this like. He also says "kiss me" at one point. It's weird. He's like, curse me or kiss me or like or call me a liar. It's like,
how about the weird part of she's
boundary?
She's more gentle than Cersei.
And then you get compared to Cersei. She had the boner earlier. Exactly. Like there's like a lot of like weird romantic stuff that you haven't had, or maybe not romantic, but sexual stuff between the two that we haven't had before. So yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know. It seems real strange, right? Like Jamie has done nothing but try and talk shit on her the whole time. I think that's kind of the point of it. Like that's why it's in here, is like he's trying to talk shit on her, but he's really has these other feelings, like, right? Like that's kind of the.
Well, I think it's kind of been like as we've gone, Jamie has been respecting her more and more.
I was gonna say, it's growing respect, and I don't know. It's kind of a weird way to show it.
For sure.
All right, so he gets cleaned up. He's in some clean clothes.
I think there's a funny line while Qyburn's getting him ready. Qyburn's like, somebody go get a flask of licorice steeped in vinegar with honey and cloves. It'll give you a clear head. And Jamie's like, bring me the potion that grows back hands. That's the one I want. Like, fuck your weird licorice potion.
I don't need a clear head. So he gets cleaned up, dressed. Brienne has to wear this dress, this pink dress that doesn't even really fit her.
It's made for like a big lady, but like a big wide, not a big tall. So yeah, not her size.
Yeah, it's kind of hanging off her in the wrong spots. And they go sit with Bolton, and we've been in this room before,
the
right?
Hall of 100 Hearths.
Okay, I thought it was thousands, but yeah, in Arya couldn't count them all. We had this discussion.
No, I think she did count them all, and it was only like 40 or something like that. It was like 38 or 48, somewhere in that range.
I thought she lost count or something.
Maybe she lost count at like 30 or something.
But she knew it wasn't going to be.
I thought the point was that it wasn't quite 100. It was like a slight exaggeration. Still, it's a this is a massive room. Like Harrenhal is supposed to be like ridiculously huge.
Tons of.
How about? He's just sitting in the cold too. Like,
the center too. This is, I think, now that you say that, you said it earlier. There is definitely a show scene where they have dinner, but
they have to like walk all the way to the.
Maybe, but like it's there's like a wall behind them, so like they're in like the corner of the big room. If it is, a big room.
He's like way in the middle. You have to like echo and steps the whole way out to him, and
because Jamie threatens him at one point, and he's like, "I have guards," and Jamie's like, "Yeah, but they're like way over there."
He's like, yeah, exactly. He's like, I could definitely kill you before any of that happens.
I mean, he saw Jamie he's about to see Jamie knock over his wine and stuff. Is he really like, you're going to take your butter knife? And
he does get scared of him at that point. I think he takes him seriously.
I don't know. So he is looking feeble. Like Jeff said, that's one of the main things that he's saying here. As he's walking up, as he's getting sat down, he sits down quick. He doesn't want to show off how feeble he is.
Oh yeah,
he can barely stand up. Jamie or Brienne basically.
Brienne is like carrying him in there. Yeah, exactly.
Also, just a quick description of Roose. His eyes were paler than stone, darker than milk, and his voice was spider soft. He's just he's a creepy guy.
How can it be darker than milk?
I don't know what that means.
So I think it's just saying that they're not white.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, not white. paler than stone,
but
in between those two.
Paler than so it's like a really light gray.
Yeah,
like
really pale.
between gray and white. Yeah,
and his voice was spider soft. We've heard before that like when he speaks, other men will quiet like around him. He can be in a like busy room and other people quiet.
Well, yeah, he was doing that when he was getting leached that time.
Yeah, he was doing that when he was getting leached, when he was laying naked on a table in front of all his vassals.
Leached,
I remember that. Holding counsel. Yeah.
Nelson's favorite scene.
So weird. Bruce is a weird guy, man.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so they're there, they're talking. He offers him wine, red or white. Jamie says, I'll take red like a good Lannister, whites for Starks. Roose is like, we don't got anything good. Armory Lords drank all the good stuff before we fed him to the bear.
What's hippocras?
It's a drink made from wine mixed with wine and sugar and spices, including cinnamon and sometimes heated. Don't they call that something else? That's
like mulled wine.
Mulled wine, yeah. That's what I thought that was. So they drink in the north where it's all cold. So first thing is, who is Roose's replacement cupbearer? Because they're getting wine poured.
What's his name?
Elmar.
Elmar.
The person that was supposed to marry Arya.
I think it's funny because Arya is who he's replacing as well. Arya was Roose's cupbearer before she...
Oh, yeah, that's true.
They didn't know that was Arya. She was Nan, but Elmar is now replacing Arya, and he kind of got spurned by
Elmar.
Arya.
What's Elmar's last name?
Frey.
There you go.
Elmar Frey. Yep. So yeah, Jaime's being clumsy, knocking stuff over. Bolton's eating prunes because they help him poop.
Yeah, you gotta poop. You gotta.
Yeah, he's just being weird, right? Like, yeah.
Yep. We learned that Edmure has offered 10,000 dragons. Again, some of this we know. I'm not sure what we learned here and what we didn't, but Jaime and Brienne are pretty much learning all this for the first time. Edmure has offered 10,000 gold.
No, 1,000.
Isn't it 10,000 gold?
It's right here.
So Edmure offered 1,000 golden dragons for your recapture. Okay. Is that all? My sister will pay 10 times as much.
That, yeah.
I was like, oh, okay. Well, Lord Karstark's also offering his daughter, who will, that guy will probably end up being Lord of the house.
I thought this was funny too. I didn't understand this at first, but then when I understood it, was kind of had me cracking up. He says, Karstark offered the hand of his daughter to the man who brings in your head. And Jaime says, leave it up to Hoat to get it backwards. I'm like, what does that mean? He chopped off Jaime's head.
I don't know if I picked that up the first time.
It took me a second. I was like, what does he mean? What does his lie mean? It's like,
you get the head of his daughter because you bring him his hand.
He was supposed to bring Jaime's head, but he brought his hand instead. Exactly. Yeah.
So this also kind of tells us why Rob had some questions in his last one, right?
Yeah, so that's what they get into
coming
next.
Up.
Yep. Harry and Karstark. He's like, Harrion was here. Yep. The other son. So the last Karstark son. So Karstark hates Jaime because his two sons were killed in the Whispering
Battle
Wood.
of the Whispering Wood.
By Jaime. The other son was captured since the Green Fork. He was here. Roose came, took over Harrenhal. Hey, you're back. You go off on the Duskendale mission. And he's like, I hope nothing bad happened to him.
Failed.
Otherwise, the daughter's the only one, which makes this Karstark offer a lot more valuable.
Really good. Yeah, which is why he sent him off, right?
Yeah, but everybody's dead. Like, who's gonna? We talked about this too. Lord Karstark doesn't have a head right now.
Yeah, exactly. So who knows if this who's gonna uphold this thing? Is it even a deal still? Roose doesn't mention that. I wonder if he knows that and withholds that information because he's trying to make Jaime seem like he's more valuable than he is, right? But I don't know.
But hang on, before we just skim over it, like he sent this kid off to kill him, essentially.
He sent multiple people off. He sent Robert Glover, Harry and Karstark. He also sent Helm Tallhart all
on purpose to get rid of him and get him out of the way, right?
We don't know why, but it seems.
But that's kind of what he's leading into.
Well, before he had said that Rob, the command came from the king. But yeah, we learned in the recent catch chapter that Rob was surprised by this, so seemingly not come from the king. So Roose sent these guys off. But again, it's like
that's my prediction as to his motives. How's that?
Gotcha.
If you don't want to say it, that's where we're at. It seems like to me that's what he's trying to do is get rid of some people.
Cool, understood. I was just saying what I was going to say is I don't know, and I don't want to look at it because I don't even trust the timeline. Timeline wise, I don't know if when he sent those people off, like that was in Clash of Kings. So like I don't know if we knew of the Jaime escape, which means there was definitely no Karstark offer. So like. If what you were alluding to is he was trying to kill Harry and Karstark to make this Karstark offer more valuable because of the Jaime thing, just the time I don't think the timeline matches up with that.
Okay,
but just like
that's what it seems like to me.
Okay. Again, I don't want to go digging into it, but so it might make sense. Yeah. But
so we get into some of the current weddings that have been going on. Roose himself is married, so he can't take over Karstark. He married Fairwalda.
He says Lady Walda. Jaime guesses Fairwalda. And he's like, oh, you probably guessed. And he's like, no, I picked Fat Walda. Bruce says I picked Fat Walda because I was promised.
The other Walda, yeah, the fat one, yeah.
Again, there's so many Walda. There's so many with the same name.
Yeah.
He picked the fat one because he was offered the bride's weight in silver as a dowry. So yeah, so
that's the best. Yeah, I picked the fat one naturally.
Yeah, obviously.
We also learned that Edmure is going to marry.
Yep.
No fucking way. That's pretty much Jamie's response, right?
They go into they go into the
Rob married the Westerling.
Exactly.
Yep.
And Jamie, you probably know her because she's one of your bannermen.
And it is here, yeah. We get kind of a thing here. He's like, he won the war on the battlefield and lost it in the bedchamber.
Yep.
So, like, I mean, they do kind of get into it a little later, but I feel like this is also talking specifically about his marriage to a Lannister girl here. Like, I feel like we've kind of alluded to it. Her family is strange, and I don't know. I think this is kind of points from my side. That's all I'm trying to say. We don't need to get too deep into it there. But
you're saying the way,
but he does kind of get into it later, where he's like, he lost the phrase because of this. He lost the Karstarks. He lost I forget who else it was. We'll get into it when we see it. But like, so that's part of it. But I think this is also like Jamie saying something else. That's all.
Gotcha. Okay. Again, the only thing I'll say for that is if there is any weird collusion, which I think is what you're getting to. Jamie's been locked in a cell by the Starks.
Not collusion with them, but I just think that whoever Rob married, Jane's family, isn't as loyal to the Starks.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. So
Bran's like, no way. Bran's like, Rob would never.
Yeah. How did Rob wouldn't do that? He's Lord Stark's son. Like, Oathbreaker. Rob's an Oathbreaker too.
And Roose cut her off saying he's only a boy of 16 and you better not question me again. Basically. It's also funny, like Roose is short with Brienne, doesn't really acknowledge her too much. And he doesn't give the hint of like, oh, you're not part of this. Like he knows she's not a part of this.
I don't really care that you're here.
Well, he tells her at the very end, you're staying with Varga Hoat. Like without spoiling the end of the chapter, he's like, you're not going anywhere. Like you're staying right here. I can't take both these people away. And here he's just kind of like everything that Brienne says. He's just like, yeah, I don't care. Yeah, I don't care. What you say does not matter. Like you're a prisoner still. It's fucked. It's kind of fucked up in hindsight that it just keeps ignoring Brienne.
Well, yeah, I actually came back because there's a point where he's like, "Oh, Jamie is going on" or whatever, and she's like, "Oh, that's great."
Exactly. Yeah.
So the next news then is of how distraught Elmar was that he couldn't marry Arya, but wait, she's been heard of running around.
Yep, Roose knows about her. So yes, because Jamie's like, "How does Walter like Trout instead of Wolf?" He's like, "Oh, Trout's not bad, but poor Elmar. He lost. He
really wanted
he lost his Stark girl." And he's like, Brienne's like, "Oh, Arya, I thought she wasn't alive. Kat thought she might not have been alive." And Roose is like, "Oh yeah, she was lost for a little bit, but she's been found, and we mean to send her back north." What do you think, Kyle?
She's been found.
Her and her sister both, and like,
What are your thoughts on that?
What do you mean? I guess we know that she's with Barristan?
We know that she's exactly. We know she's with Barrick's group, but we don't know if Barrick's group is talking to Roose's group. We know Arya was with Roose, but while she was with him, he seemingly didn't know who she was.
So I guess like that's what I'm saying is like I feel like Barrick has probably put some word out that he has this girl now.
Gotcha. Okay.
Roose has caught word. We don't know how, right?
Yeah.
This is then it switches to Tyrion and Lannisters lie. We get the Lannisters.
Yeah, because Bran's like, what about Sansa?
She's like,
then?
oh, yeah, we need them both.
Because we promised both of them, not just
Tyrion
Arya.
promised that they would get both for Jamie.
Yeah, has no one told you? Lannisters lie, and Jamie, this is where he threatens Roose. He's like, are you taking jabs at my house? And he grabs a butter knife. He's like, I can kill you with this. And he's like, wow, I can't believe you would threaten me while we're eating together. Like we still hold hospitality sacred in the North. And he's like, yeah, no one can stop this. And Jamie's like, I'm a captive. I'm not a guest. Like the laws of hospitality do not apply. Like, your goat cut off my hand. If you think some prunes will make me overlook that, you're bloody well mistaken. Which I think is like a good rule, a good like response.
Yeah, but then this is where I was saying earlier, like Roose gets taken aback here, and he's like, well, maybe I should be worried about you.
Well, yeah, because again, it's like one of those things. Like theoretically, that's like sacred. Like you're eating with somebody. Like you're good, right? So he's like, Bruce, like Jamie's like, I don't give a fuck about your rules. And Bruce is like, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I don't know. He's the first person to kind of come at Roose yet, right? Like everybody else is scared of Roose.
Well, also it's like we say about Jamie. He's the He is a captive. Like even when he was a captive in the Riverrun cells, and Kat comes to visit him, he's still talking back to her like, "Oh, you here to fuck me? It's been a while since Ned died, huh? Is that why you're here?"
I mean, what?
Like, he's a
what
captain
could possibly
still talking shit. He doesn't care.
Yeah, I mean, in his mind, what could go worse? Like, what are you gonna do? You're not gonna kill me because
we're gonna do cut my hand off, and then now they did.
They did cut his hand off, so it's like, what are you gonna do? Cut my other hand off?
Jamie should have learned to stop calling bluffs, though. But yeah, so Roose is like, okay, well, if you're gonna be nasty, maybe I should just go give you to Edmure as a wedding gift, or slice your head off. Better yet, like Cersei did to Ned. And Jamie's like, I would advise against it. My dad has a long memory. And
Brienne's like, no, I have to exchange these people still. She stays on her rule or her oath for a while. She's not letting that go.
And Bolton's pretty much like, what the fuck do I care about the Lannisters? Like, you guys are so far away.
Yeah,
right?
you'll never come up north that far to actually deal with me.
Who gives a shit? So he's like, this is the first we've seen people talk back to either of them, I think.
I mean, Vargo Hoat's clan was talking back, but yeah, the first people with actual power who were talking back.
It's kind of strange, I guess, is what I'm saying. To see these two in I don't want to say vulnerable situation, but a less power situation, power struggle.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
it makes for an interesting chapter.
But it makes sense, yeah.
Well, not just I meant Roose as well.
So yeah, Roose is like, I don't give a fuck about Lannister enemies, and Jamie's like, yeah, but Lannister friends are cool because we're rich. He doesn't really say that, but he alludes basically what he's saying.
Yeah, and Bolton's like, no, fuck you. I don't want to be friends with you. Elmar go get some meat. Brienne's like, but we have this deal. We have to trade the daughters for Jamie for the daughters. You must let us go. And he's like, he does say, then he's like,
we heard about
the letter that came out is not anything about a trade.
Yeah,
like, this is
you're
all
a traitor, not a traitor.
Which Kat thought about. Like, Edmure came to her, right? Like, the chapter after she lets Jamie go. Edmure comes back, and he's like, don't worry, Kat. I know you fucked up, but I sent out ravens telling everyone that Jamie escaped and that we need to capture. And Kat thinks like, no, you idiot. Now, if anyone does come across them,
people are going to be.
It's an escape, and they'll bring him back. Like, you should have said like, we had a bargaining and we let him go, or like, I mean, obviously he wouldn't have said that. But
he's part of the truth.
Yeah,
I mean, it would all be a lie.
Yeah,
it would all be a lie.
That spreading it's an escape thing would not be good for her plans in the long run. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's basically like, yo, calm down, girl. Sit down. Elmar will cut your food for you.
Yeah, she's like, I serve Lady Catelyn. And he's like, I serve the king in the north. Or the king who lost the north, as some call it.
Yeah, it's the first kind of cut to Rob too, though. I think we kind of hear some weird, not weird, but like side knowledge of things. In passing, these things get dropped, I guess.
Yep. So Jamie's like, Brienne, sit down.
So,
if he wanted to kill us, we'd be dead already. He wouldn't be giving us his prunes. So they eat the meat. Jamie can't cut his food. He thinks he's worth less than a girl. This is another funny thing that I didn't understand right away. He's like, I'm worth less than a girl now. Even the trade. Right? And he's saying, now I am, like, this was a horrible deal by Kat.
I am worth than these two girls.
Yeah. It's
worth it now because I can't kill it. I won't be able to fight.
Well, yeah, it's a bad deal. You're giving them their best fighter in general for two little girls. Yeah. Jamie's like, now I'm worth as much as a little girl. It's like, Hoat made this thing.
Half a little girl, actually.
But then Roose has a little spoiler like, Brienne, would it please you if you sit down, I'll gonna tell you, I plan on sending Jamie back to King's Landing.
Yep. He also does think that once Cersei finds out, Jamie thinks like, I guess, like, well, if we convince Cersei to somehow honor the agreement and send Sansa back, she's gonna send Sansa back with one hand. Like she'll send her, and she's like, I'm gonna get blamed for that one too. Like, I'm sure. Like,
yeah. So the next part, which I think Nelson, you could probably summarize just the best, is kind of the thought process Vargo had behind maiming Jamie.
Yeah, because Roose is the next. That's what they get into next. Exactly. Like, why?
It's a little convoluted.
Why did Hoat cut off your hand? Exactly. I think it's not too convoluted. The gist is, anything Hoat does, basically Roose does. Kind of in the same way. It falls
under the Roose umbrella.
Kind of in the same way how when Rickard Karstark kills the two Lannister hostages, no one cares that it was Rickard. Rob just killed two Lannister hostages. You know what I mean? Like, if you're the greater lord, it falls on you. You got to keep your men in line. So by Roose doing this, it makes it so like, really, we can't do anything with Jamie. If we send him to the Lannisters and Roose now is going to come back, that Roose basically it doesn't stop at Hoat. It stops at Roose. So it's like, oh, Roose cut off Jamie's hand. Which, like, along those lines, technically it should go back up and say Rob cut off Jamie's hand. Like, it should just go the whole way back up and it should all fall on Rob. But
Rob was never there, I guess, is kind of the idea behind it.
Like, Jamie was in my possession as Roose at one point. So it's like, well, if I give him back to Rob, then basically I'm making this Rob problem. And then, like, fuck, he cut off his hand. If I give him the Tywin, is Tywin going to be pissed at me? Like, then I don't get any, there's no Lannister friendship at all. So yeah, basically makes it so, hopefully, Roose is just like, oh, I don't want to deal with this. Hote, you keep him. He's your captive. I wash my hands of it. And then Roose would do, or Hote would do whatever he wants with Jaime. Settle him back to Tywin, give him to Karstark. He says what he would have done, what Hote would have done, was send the hand to Tywin as like a grisly thing, being like, hey, give me money and I'll give you Jaime back. Then collected the money and then given Jaime to Karstark
for
to get
house.
the daughter, because then he would have got it. Because he also goes into basically when Roose took over Harrenhal and basically promised it to Vargo. Vargo needed Tywin to lose at the Blackwater. He needed Stannis to
Vargo
win.
is pumped, but yeah, exactly. He has no claim to the house now.
Yeah, because he knows that if Tywin wins, if Tywin's side wins, Tywin is not going to stand for the guy who flips sides on him. He's going to come back and stop that eventually. So we need Tywin to lose. We need Stannis to win.
The Lannisters already promised it to Baelish too. Like there's
Exactly.
like 3 lords of Harrenhal right now.
Yeah, exactly. So it's funny because they all what Jaime says here. He says like, oh, the curse of Harren the Black, because like we hear that the Harrenhal's cursed. I don't know if I'm sure we've heard this in passing.
Harren the Black.
Because the first guy built this huge castle that was never going to get stopped. And the day, I think that the stories say, it probably wasn't the day. The day that he finished the castle was the day Aegon showed up. And basically the castle could withstand any attack from the outside. It had storehouses so big that it could withstand a siege for 5 years, but it had no defenses against dragons. Fucked it up on day one. And pretty much every owner of Harrenhal since then has not held it for long. It's been like kind of changing hands. And the thing is like it's cursed, and whoever the Lord isn't going to be Lord long. Which is funny because who got promised Harrenhal in book 1?
Janos Slynt.
He's up on the wall now. So now Vargo, we don't know what's happening with him, but he's getting promised Harrenhal number 2. And it seems like things are not going to end well for him, whatever, right? It's kind of seeming like how it's going to go. Based on this, like he was rooting on Tywin winning. Tywin lost. So now he's not, his best hope
not
isn't
Tywin.
even...
Stannis.
Yeah, Stannis. He needs Stannis to win. Stannis lost. So now he's basically like forfeited Harrenhal. He's not quite, but he's basically like, I need the Karstark castle. That'd be better because the Lannisters can't fuck with me.
I need to get super far away from the Lannisters.
Exactly. So I think that's the gist of the Vargo stuff.
I think it makes sense. I don't know where we go to next though. Well, all right, so he's like, so now I need you to go to your dad and be like, this wasn't Roose's fault.
Exactly. So basically the problem Vargo gave me is now it looks like I did this. It looks like I'm responsible. So he's basically saying, wherever I send you, you gotta speak my praises. And Jaime's like, well, if you send me where I want to go, I'll say whatever the fuck you want. I'll tell him that Vargo, the sellsword that my
sing
father...
the loudest song of your innocence. Yeah,
because the sellsword that my father brought from Essos was the one that made me. The guy that my dad hired is the one that ended up killing me, and I was saved by the mercy of Roose Bolton. I'll say it all.
Betrayed him.
Exactly. And he's like, okay, cool. And Roose is basically like, that's exactly what I wanted to hear. Cool deals.
All right, let's eat our meat. But how am I going to get back safely through all these Karstark men?
Yep.
And he's going to go with a...
Don't worry, I'm going to send it. Yep. Because earlier at one point, Roose lists off all these people who are looking for Jaime. He's like, Robbert Glover and Helman Tallheart, who went to Duskendale, they're still stragglers out there in the Riverlands. Karstarks are looking for you. House Dairymen are lawless and lordless. There's packs of 4-footed wolves, so this is actual wolves.
Yeah, Arya.
And then there's the Lightning Lord's crew, which is Arya's crew. Yep. Lightning Lord Barrack.
Well, I meant Arya is the wolves.
Yeah, the wolves.
Too, though, right?
The Lightning Lord, the people she's with. Yep. So yeah, he's like, in order to get past that, I'm gonna send you with a big crew led by Steelshanks or my boy Steelshanks Walton. And Brienne's like, we don't need him. I'm in charge. Kat gave me this duty.
I'll get him.
He can come if Steelshanks can come, but don't worry about that. And Roose gives her an uninterested glance. He's like, oh, you don't need to worry about the girls anymore. He's like, Sansa's married to Tyrion. And she's like, wait, what do you mean? Like, he promised to trade her in front of everybody.
Yeah, so they don't know this isn't Tyrion's idea.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. And Jaime was surprised, but he thinks that Sansa would make Tyrion happy. And he remembers how happy Tyrion was with his little crofter's daughter for that fortnight before Tywin got his hands on her. And then Bolton's like, it doesn't matter what he did or what he swore, especially now, especially for you, because you need to stop worrying about Starks and start worrying about Sapphires, because you're not going anywhere. End of chapter.
End chapter.
Can't take both of Argo's captives from him.
Goat needs somebody to play with.
Yeah, I mean, it's a reason to not like Bolton, I guess, right? Like, I mean, I guess it makes sense, but like, it's kind of a dick move. Like, we like Brienne, I guess.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at.
I mean, also just plot wise, I think you had said in the past, like, I think one of your predictions had been that Jaime and Brienne stick together for a while, just because like it's kind of cool watching them interact, and then now split up.
I don't know. I feel like she's not getting split up. I don't see how she ends up stuck with Vargo for long. I think she's gonna do something here. She's too beast mode.
Single-handedly break out.
From what we've seen, she's capable.
In her pink dress.
That's the prediction.
Yeah. So,
what about Jaime? What's next Jaime chapter? Because he's the one that we get the POVs from. So he'll the one we'll be following.
So he's gonna be with Steel Shanks potentially.
Yeah, who we really haven't seen before. I think he was like in an Arya chapter, like in the background, but I don't think he. Like,
I wonder if he's trying to break out with Brienne. Maybe I'll put that in there. Maybe
they go back on the road together.
Yeah, I feel like maybe like we're starting to see their relationship grow.
Wait, Steel Shanks is trying to break out with?
No, not Steel Shanks, you idiot.
Jaime's trying to break out with. Okay, gotcha. Before he leaves with Steel Shanks, he's gonna do a deal with Brienne. Gotcha.
Yeah, that's where I'm at.
All right, cool.
As long as I didn't skip one, it doesn't happen for like 100 pages. We got some time till
next Jaime chapter. I'm not sure, but yeah, maybe
something like that. But all right, see you, Kyle.
It'll just be like one sentence. We're sleeping in the dirt ever since we broke out of Harrenhal, and it's just Brienne and Jaime together, and that'll be it.
That'll be how we wrap this up, and now we're on to a new adventure. Anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
maybe. So. All right, well, we'll see. We'll see Kyle in the next one for Tyrion 5, and we'll see the rest of you guys in the spoiler section. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Later, nerds.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Bye, Kyle. Thanks for hanging out with us. See you next time for Tyrion 5. Now, on to the spoiler section of Jaime 5. Nels, what are your hot takes? I'm coming in blind, no notes. So I don't know if it's better for me to just play response to you or
Sure. I don't have too many. I mean, I have a few, but I don't think
they might come to me.
I think this first one will spark some interest in you. What was the last chapter?
Davos.
Well, how's that chapter end? Very end.
We're killing people. We're throwing leeches into the fire.
Leeches full of
king's blood.
Very early this chapter, you even mentioned it in the non-spoiler. When Jaime's walking into the bath, his eye was all swollen, but it's not anymore. Because...
Oh, they got his blood.
Qyburn got his blood. Well, Jaime's son, Joffrey...
Is
king.
Fake king. Fake king. Doesn't count.
Why does
Edric... It's only true king's blood.
I think Joffrey's the king. Joffrey's the most real king we got right now. He's the one calling all the shots.
Well, that's the old, like, what makes you a king? People or... I don't know. Would you agree that he's not the true king?
I would think
or does that not even matter?
I would think they all
true
count.
King matter?
Well, like I would say in Game of Thrones, what Varys says earlier is the end all be all. Power resides where men believe it reside. Some men think Stannis is king. Some men think Joffrey's king. They're both kings.
Yeah, but
clearly they don't both like that.
My thing is there a truly rightful king? Do you believe that, or do you not even care?
I mean, if I'm totally fine if we're saying there's a rightful king, but if we're saying there's a rightful king, to me, I'm a computer science guy, math guy, logic guy. Right, the way that I'm going to determine the true king is I'm going to start with Aegon, and you tell me the rules, and I will apply those rules the entire way down and tell you who the king is.
Well, why is Aegon the truthful king? Maybe it should have been Bran the whole time.
Well, before him, there was no united kingdom, right? It was They were all separate kingdoms. They all had their own king, theoretically. So, but if you're trying to say of Westeros, he was the first ever true king.
So Dany is the true king, or Aegon Fagon.
Yeah, if we're going lineage.
Well, let's just say, all right, I'll give you two kind of hypothetical thoughts. I guess I don't even know if hypothetical is the right word. We know that.
Well, hold on. I think I know where you're going, right? Because you're going with the whole.
You have no clue where my mind goes.
I mean, back to the beginning, because you're saying Edric Storm's blood is only king's blood if Robert was a real king, and if I'm going with the whole. Technically, Robert was never a real king. He was a usurper the whole time because it's all about bloodline, not about who can just sit on the throne. Then Robert was never a true king, so Edric's blood isn't king's blood. In which case, under the same rule, Joffrey's blood wouldn't be king's blood.
That's not really where I was going. But I do. You did kind of tie it back to what I was saying. we've already seen Melisandre do some decent shit with Stannis, right? With Stannis' blood. So
that's a good point. So
you could either say, wow, his blood actually did do some cool ass shit.
The other thing is it's confusing because technically the Baratheons do have Targaryen blood, like not that far back. Like Robert's grandmother was a Targaryen, so you could technically say they have King's blood that way. But I don't think that's what Mel's going for. She's going for like fresh King's blood. Like it's got to be a generation or two away from a king.
Well, yeah. I mean, how diluted was that Targaryen piece of blood?
I mean, she's accepting Edric Storm, who's a generation off. He's never.
Yeah, but it's just one generation. It's
that's what I'm saying. There's at least some leeway. But it's not.
Where's
full
the
King's
threshold?
blood.
Is the question.
So Jaime's one generation away from Joffrey.
My point was that one, either Stannis does have King's blood, which makes him. Like, is this like, oh, he's the rightful prince that was promised type of thing? Is he the real king? Maybe Stannis does have a little bit of that because he's already done some cool shit with his blood. Or it's just all bullshit and Melisandre could take anyone's blood and maybe do some crazy ass shit.
Maybe you just need blood, right? Maybe King has nothing to do with it. Magic. She's just trying to make Stannis feel special. Yeah. If that's the case, though, then why, like, poor Edric, like... It's all just a dog and pony show. We're picking on Edric just to try and convince Stannis he's special when really anybody blood would do.
Well, maybe she doesn't know. So, all right.
So let's go back to the original premise of my spoiler point. They took
Bruce
Jaime's blood.
Is holding Jaime's blood for some reason.
Well, the thing that I think is really weird of it, and that's kind of why the way I led into it was what it was the end of the last chapter. Jaime's talking about his eye getting leached is literally less than a page and a half from Melisandre throwing leeches on the fire. Like, are we not supposed to make that? It's literally a page and a half, less than a page and a half away.
TBH,
and Jaime is very too close to related to a king. Like, he has a king's son.
TBH, I didn't think about it when I read.
I'd never thought about it before, and I don't think I've ever heard anybody think about it, but it really jumps out to me like, hey, this is I mean, but we've read the next two books. We know the next two books. Roose doesn't seem to have any like weird dried up leeches
I guess
that he's
the weird part is
but
like it's obviously a tool used for like taking blood. So if you need to drain that eye.
If I was Kyle, I like reading this for a first time, like paying a really close attention like this, I think I would be all over this. I would be like, oh, this leech is going to be crazy, which would turn out to be nothing because we never hear about it. But
right. I think Kyle's trying to read with a fine-tooth comb, but if you like really fine-tooth comb like every paragraph, it would just take you forever. Like there's still a little bit of him that I think is just reading for pleasure.
So I like that point. A lot of times when we go into the spoiler section, we jump into the points that we have, but I think that we should always try and start by talking about what Kyle was talking about.
Yeah. Kyle's kind of on some things.
He's kind of on it. I mean, I think he should be way more on it. There are some big red flags.
He's on the Westerling family red flag.
He's on the Westerling family red flag. And again, I was trying to throw him off that scent without being too like blatant about it. But like Jaime wouldn't know about any collusion because he's been in a cell the entire time. So even if Tywin was working with them, Jaime wouldn't know.
Right.
So because his whole thought process there was off Jaime saying like, oh, he lost it in the bedchamber.
Yeah, I didn't have much to say that. I didn't want to say anything because it would just I think it would have swung one way or the other. So I just
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, sometimes I think just arguing either way gives it too much evidence. But yeah. So, but just in terms of like Roose, he kind of figured out Roose sent the men to die.
Yeah.
He thought it was because of the Karstark.
He didn't really drive that thought home.
Well, exactly. I kind of told him like, yeah, that's right. That is weird, but you're wrong about the Karstark thing. Because he said the reason for it was to kill the Karstark guy. That way, Jaime would be worth more. But in the end, he sends Jaime back to Tywin anyway. So he obviously doesn't care about making Jaime worth more to the Karstarks. And he doesn't. He's already married, so that he even says, "I don't care about that offer. It's not important to me."
That house doesn't matter to me.
Exactly to your point, he didn't hammer it home. Okay, so if Roose is sending men to their death, and it's not for Karstark, why is it? And I guess Kyle did say it. He said like he just wants to get rid of him. I don't know why, but he wants to get rid of him, which is true. The next red flag, Kyle kind of pointed out too. He calls Robb the king who lost the North. The big red flag though is Jaime is very, very important prisoner numero uno. And he sends him back to Tywin. He's
sending him back for favor for himself.
Just to look good. Exactly. Like to not be in trouble with the Lannisters. After he even pointed out the fact that Roose says, I don't care if the Lannisters are pissed at me. It doesn't bother me.
It's kind of weird how, like, I'm going to throw Kyle a bone here. It's a little bit weird how Roose is playing the whole conversation. Because at the beginning, he's like, no, I'm a man for Robb. Like, I serve the king of the North. but then he calls him the king who lost the North, and he's doing what you just said, and he's also going to see Edmure get married. So like he's still very much like playing that I'm serving him, but yeah, he lost it. Whatever. Like you would think that Roose, if he truly believes he lost it, I mean he's kind of doing a Tywin. He's kind of waiting to see who actually wins and then picking that side.
I think he's already decided. I
think so too. But let's just say like something weird happened. Like Rob completely changed his plan and was like, actually, screw you, Frey's. Like, I'm gonna go back west and then we're gonna take a boat around and I'm just going home type of thing. He might be like, oh shit, like all right, I want to go home too.
Yeah. I just had like a big face that I was thinking about something you said in the non-spoiler. You were saying that we don't get another Jaime chapter for a while.
100 pages. Ahead.
I bet you in the books, Jaime knows about the Red Wedding. Before he leaves Harrenhal, him and Roose talk about the Red Wedding because Roose is in on it already.
Well, he's not leaving until he gets stronger. Till Qyburn says he can travel.
Well, we see the other thing is this chapter based on the timeline I had is only less than a month before Joffrey's wedding, right? So you're right that this one might just be a little bit ahead of the rest, like that way.
I thought the next one, if I'm being honest, what I thought the next Jaime one was going to be was Jaime leaving with the clan, knowing that Brienne was about to be put in the bear pit, and then he turns back around. But maybe there's a chapter before that. Or
that's the next one.
The next one.
And this might be different than the books in the show, but in the show there is an extra scene with Jaime like actually riding out, and maybe this is in the books too. I'm just forgetting it. But in the show, there's definitely a scene with him riding out, and when he says goodbye to Bolton, he says, "Give Robb Stark my regards." Mm-hmm. And then when he kills him, he says the Lannisters send their regards. So in the books, that might be a thing that maybe Tywin sent it in a letter. Maybe Roose doesn't even say it. We never even hear that. I don't even remember. But I feel like that might be why we don't get another Jaime chapters, because the Red Wedding's coming up not too long from now, like less than maybe about 10 chapters.
Dude, that's crazy. The problem is, I think Kyle might was that the biggest surprise ever? I remember watching it and I'm like,
because I watched it. We both watched it first, so it was definitely a big surprise when I watched it. By then I'd caught up. I remember because the way that I started watching Game of Thrones was early season 3. One of my buddies was like watching Game of Thrones, and I was like, "Is this?" I had never seen the first 2 seasons, and the third season was just coming out, and he was excited for it. And I like watched the first episode, and I had no idea what was going on, but I could tell
the first episode of season 3.
Of season 3, and I had no idea what was going on. I was like, but I could tell I would like be into it, and I was like, wait, how do we get HBO? Like, I don't have HBO, and he's like, and there was like somebody else, I forget who it was. One of my other friends was in the same boat. Had never seen it, but just watched season 3-1, and episode 3-1, and we were like, yeah, we're into this. So like that week, we went back and binged the first 2 seasons.
You jumped on board a lot earlier than me, though.
It might have taken like 2 or 3 weeks till we caught up. But like within like a month, we had caught up and we were watching. So I was probably just catching up. Like I'd probably just finished binging season 2 in the first half of season 3 when the Red Wedding happened. And it was, because I'm pretty sure I was watching that live with a bunch of people.
Wow, I can only imagine watching. It sucks that the last season was the only season I watched live.
I think I was back in Dalton's room watching BPS.
Wow.
Watching season 3.
Who would have thought? Yeah.
So good. Good old days.
Yeah. What can you do? So let's get
along the lines that you were saying, I think another clue, and this one's like a really hard to see clue, and we can jump on this onto another point here. Roose says Elmar isn't going to be able to marry Arya. But he also says like, oh, Robb and the Freys are like in the middle of like making up, and they're gonna marry marry Edmure to a Frey. Robb can't because he's already married. But like if the Starks and the Freys are back in bed with each other,
Arya,
exactly, that deal would 100% still be on. You know what I mean?
And he was like, yeah, we're sending her north. Wait, how does he know about Arya? That's like
he doesn't know about Arya. This is when he's sending Jean Poole, fake Arya, north to marry Ramsay. They're pretending they have Arya, but it's not Arya, it's Jean Poole.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's so good.
That's a great little snippet, because I was like, well, he heard about Arya from somebody, and like I said that in the non-spoiler, like completely meaning it. Like, wait, did Beric send word? Like, how did they find out?
And going a layer deeper on this is 100% proof that Roose is in on the Red Wedding already. I mean, I think it's very obvious, but this is 100% proof because last we heard of Jean Poole was in that Sansa chapter in Game of Thrones when Littlefinger's like, oh, I'll take care of her. Give her to me. come, little girl. And the assumption is he's going to be thrown into a brothel or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But now we're hearing of her again. So she was Littlefinger's. Now she's Roos's. Again, we wouldn't know this on her first read, but on hindsight, now she's seemingly Roos's. Roos must have bought her from the Lannisters, meaning Littlefinger somehow, right? Got her from Littlefinger, which probably through the Lannisters as part of the Red Wedding deal. Hey, yeah, well, I'll do the Red Wedding for you, but you give me Arya. Roos, maybe Roos doesn't even know that it's not Arya. He probably does know that it's not Arya, but he might not even, right? The Lannisters might be like, oh, we've had her the whole time.
She doesn't even look like a Stark.
I think
Arya's
Roos knows,
the one that looked just torture
like her.
Ned, didn't?
I think they torture her into being like, "Oh, I'm Arya,"
right?
Which
That's
is
what
why
I was
she keeps her
say.
mouth shut.
What stopped Jean Poole from just like screaming her head off on?
Yeah,
on
like
the
they got
Theon
Theon saying he's Reek. I think they got Jean saying she's Arya. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Jamie says Brienne is thick as a castle wall at some point in here.
Oh god.
Just a dunk. It's just a dunk. That's a short one.
Dunk
obvious.
was just running around spreading his seed.
Just Brienne's and maybe Hodor.
Yeah, he's just like he might be the worst knight ever. He's just not taking his vows seriously.
He wasn't a knights are allowed to fuck. He wasn't a knight of the Kingsguard back then. Those were in his younger days before he got raised.
They were allowed to have bastards all over the place.
Yeah, whatever. Who cares?
And Brienne became
it's confusing
how Dunk actually father.
I've never gone into the line. It's confusing. Dunk would have had to father Brienne's mom. I think is the only way that would have worked, right? Because she's obviously from Tarth, which is the male line. So Dunk would have had to somehow father the mom.
Yeah, it's falling apart for you.
I mean, she finds when she has her shield repainted, she gets it repainted to Dunk's sigil because she remembers seeing that sigil in the bowels of Harrenhal. And you can't tell me, or not Harrenhal, in the bowels of Tarth.
Maybe it's just symbolic and not actually that they're related.
It's not the castle's not called Tarth. What's it called? Evenfall Hall on Tarth. She saw that in there. I knew somebody would have commented like, "Hey, idiot! The castle's not Tarth." So yeah, she saw it in the bowels of Evenfall Hall on Tarth. I think this is a great one. Roos, when Jaime threatens Roos says, "We keep the laws of hospitality sacred still."
Yeah,
and then
but he doesn't. They're literally about to do the worst guest right ever.
Exactly. Again, it's the phrase mostly, but yeah, he's like conspirator numero uno.
Doesn't he slit Catelyn's throat?
Yeah, but like, could you say that he's not the one giving?
He's not the host.
He's just another guest. Yeah, it's is it a problem if a guest kills another guest?
Kill another guest? Yeah, I don't know.
It's a gray area. So Jaime, I think it's also good at the very end when he's talking about Sansa married Tyrion, and Jaime's like, that'll make Tyrion happy. He remembered how happy he was with his crofter's daughter for a fortnight. He doesn't say whore.
Yeah.
Crofter's daughter, because that's what she was.
Yeah.
He lied to Jaime he lies to Tyrion saying she's a whore, but when he thinks about it, even here, he's thinking Crofter's daughter because that's what she was. Yeah. She actually loved him, married him, wasn't a whore. Lied about him afterwards. And again, we've even talked about that previously. Jaime has said like, my brother loves me, or my brother loves me for a lie. For something a lie. Like that, yeah.
Yeah. Wait, I have something before you get off of it. How about Wada's going to be pregnant soon? Just a whole nother wrench into... It's got to be a wrench into Roose then, right? There's Roose and Ramsay.
That Wada gets pregnant?
Yeah, because then is she going to have a son, or is that just show?
I mean, Roose is still alive in the books, but I think she does get pregnant. I'm not sure if she gets pregnant in the books. I'm not sure.
She's going to get pregnant.
She probably will. I mean, that'll be interesting. But that hasn't... If what happens in the show carries out, it hasn't carried out yet.
Does Ramsay kill Roose at some point? I'm going to say pretty stupid death for Roose in the show.
Yeah, kind of out of nowhere and kind of dumb. It's kind of just like kind of more to make Ramsay more evil.
You're just going to kill this great character by just... Oh, okay. Well, he's gone.
So one thing is there is a weird theory that, again, it's one of the ones that I think is a little bit too far-fetched that normally we don't even talk about, but it's that Roose is a vampire. Some people even say...
Yeah, you mentioned that the last time, and I was like, I don't want to hear this.
I think it is kind of... I've never really bought too much into it. However, you know that recently I've read Fever Dream, which is a George R. R. Martin book he wrote before he wrote any of the Game of Thrones books, which is about vampires on steamboats in the Mississippi River around the time of the Civil War. Which, again, sounds like a really weird premise, but I actually really, really like the book. Like, I don't think I've ever read a book that fast before just because I wanted to know what was happening next. And in that book, all the vampires are like...
Pale with stone eyes, and they whisper.
pale eyes. They're eating meat here. Jamie mentions that it's very bloody meat. Bruce even sops up the blood with a piece of bread at one point.
Because it's definitely not meat. It's not blood. It's not blood in the meat. It's juices. It's not blood. Like that's why people get freaked out about like, oh, that steak is medium rare. It's literally bleeding. It's not blood, you freaks.
Right, but even in the vampire book, the characters eat like really rare and
I'm sure,
quote, bloody meat. And here Roos is doing the same thing, and he's even sopping
it up with
quote
bread.
Quote blood with bread.
There's nothing better than like finishing your bowl of spaghetti though, and then getting a piece of white bread and butter.
Finish. My mom after dinner, not even just spaghetti, like no matter what it was, we'd have like freaking hamburger helper. Last thing was a piece of bread came out for everybody to clean their plate with. That was the best piece of bread you ever had. With
Your
like
mom
whatever
was
the hamburger helper sauce
cheating
was.
the game of cleaning the dishes.
Straight to the dishwasher. Exactly. Yeah. You don't got to rinse that bitch off. But dude, again, I don't know if anyone's read Fever Dream. If not, and you like George R. R. Martin books, I've tried to read another George R. R. Martin book. I think it was Dying of the Light. I didn't really like it.
I haven't read
Fever Dream, I ate it up. Definitely, if you need a book to read right now, read Fever Dream. And after you read Fever Dream, if you're like me, you've never been on the Roos is a vampire train. I think I'm 1 foot on that train now because he acts exactly like the vampires in the other George R. R. Martin vampire book.
You can't be 1 foot on a moving train. You're gonna.
I've only read one chapter with Roos since then. Since I've read Fever Dream, this is the first chapter I've read with him. But I think I'm gonna be I'm gonna
draw the line on my mythology creatures like. Dragons is enough. The children of the forest, like we don't need
Does
vampires.
Roos ever go out in the
sunlight? Then there's gonna be yes, obviously he does.
Does he?
Literally, he came riding in during the day. I'm sure at some point.
Okay.
He was in the battle against what's his name in the day.
I only have one more. I mentioned to Kyle earlier that when Jamie's going through the recap, the quote that you read. One of some of the stuff that he mentions is he sends Lou and Martell down south. He sends Barristan and John Derry to Stony Sept. Jamie would be the 4th Kingsguard. Where's the other 3?
Somebody had to be fighting with Rhaegar, right?
Who are do we know the other Kingsguard at the time? Aerys Kingsguard.
Oh, well, it's got to be the guys that go to the Tower of Joy.
There you go. That's where the missing 3 are. Jamie doesn't mention where those 3 are. He mentions I was alone, and he mentions where everyone but those 3 were. And he does say when Rhaegar came back from the south,
right?
Then blah 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 blah. So he never says what Rhaegar was doing in the south or where the other 3 Kingsguard are exactly. Rhaegar took 3 Kingsguard south.
She was pregnant, and
like,
hey, you're gonna protect this girl.
Again, it's just kind of like it's not what is said; it's what's not said, right? It's like because he says he wanted me to be the only Kingsguard there. It's like okay, but you only said where 3 of the Kingsguard went, where the other 3 go. He's like, what do you mean Rhaegar came back from the south? What came back from where in the south?
Yeah. Do you think Aerys even knew, or do you think it was a secret? Aerys didn't even know.
I'm sure Aerys didn't know everything. I'm sure he knew Rhaegar was taking 3 Kingsguard south.
What did Rhaegar say? Like, all right, I'm taking these 3 Kingsguard to the south for X reason.
Yeah, that's a really good question.
Why are you
Aerys had to have known.
In all your crazy fandom theories? Why has no one ever talked about this?
Well, the thing is, Rhaegar might have been out and about with those 3 for a year beforehand. They might just be like the 3. We know that Oswell was like Rhaegar's best friend.
Right.
Gerald Hightower was the commander of the Kingsguard, so like he should have probably been back with Aerys. But maybe those 3 were
when
just
Rhaegar
the ones that were
goes
just like
back
chilling
to fight
with
on the Trident. Why wouldn't Aerys be like, well, where are the other 3 guys?
I mean, he probably was
to protect you.
He probably was, but at that point in the story, that wasn't. Jamie leads off by saying the Kingsguard aren't here.
We kind of forgot that we had 3 other.
Well, no,
this is
Jamie
Aerys,
leads
Aerys
off by
POV.
saying the important. Well, I guess by then he could have brought it up. You're right, because the important point here is I was the only Kingsguard when Aerys was trying to burn the city down. But to your point, Rhaegar was back from the south, so where were the other 3 Kingsguard? Why weren't they with him? Why didn't they get him back?
Like, I kind of forgot I had 7 Kingsguard, not 4.
Yeah, Jamie just had to not mention it, or else it would have been a problem. But yeah, I think it's kind of like what's not mentioned kind of alludes to something sus happening with Kingsguard down south. And again, if Kyle would have thought about it, Ned had a dream about 3 Kingsguard in the south. Like he knows that much, that Ned had a weird dream with 3 Kingsguard in the south around the does he know that's related to Lyanna? I don't even know. Whatever. Right. That's all I had.
All right,
Last
let's
one.
get the hell out of here.
We'll see you guys in the next one for Tyrion 5, where we meet all the Dornish people. I'm so excited.
No.
I love the Dornish people.
No names. Names
9
don't matter.
houses. 9 houses, all with new people. It's going to be great. See you guys in that one.
Bye.